Hello and good evening, friends. So hope you had a great Diwali festivities with loved ones. The fact that you are watching News Sunday shows how seriously you take what's happening around you and the country. So let's have an engaging 1 hour of news conversation. Earlier in the day, the BJP released its manifesto for Jharkhand, taking the battle right into the JMM camp with two sharp positions on preserving the state's tribal identity. It has promised an Uttarakhand-like uniform civil code, as also a law that makes those marrying tribal women not get tribal identities themselves. This came on a day when, in a parallel attack, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, who is BJP co-in charge for the party campaign in the state, repeated his demographic change charge, focusing on the Santhal Pargana region of the state. Taken together with Pawan Kalyan's Sanatan board demand, for which he has set up a special cell in his party just yesterday, it is becoming clear that battle lines are sharply drawn now on Waqf bill and the uniform civil code politics. What's stopping BJP from having a national rollout of the common code, we ask? Also, if Waqf boards are right, why oppose a Sanatan counter? If, on the other hand, Sanatan board is not needed, why can't Waqf subject themselves to more even laws of the land? The burning question tonight is, while minorities claim their religion is perpetually under threat, the legal provisions are making even majority feel equally threatened. What's the way out? That's going to be our first debate. Also, in the second half of this conversation, we would discuss a big drug bust in Canada, which has exposed happy patronage of the Canadian deep state of Khalistani criminal gangs nexus, perhaps, thus clearly buttressing India's claims that Trudeau government is blinded by its India hate to the extent of harming itself, harming Canadians. I would have guests from Toronto and Ottawa joining me. Let's get going with the headlines this Sunday evening. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister meets Prime Minister Modi in Delhi ahead of Uttar Pradesh bypolls.
झारखंड में यूसीसी जरूर आएगा। हमारी सरकार झारखंड में यूसीसी लाएगी, मगर यूसीसी से आदिवासियों को पूर्णतया हम बाहर रखेंगे। कोई आदिवासी के अधिकार और कानून को यूसीसी से हम नहीं छेड़ेंगे।
Home Minister Amit Shah vows to implement UCC in Jharkhand, says no one can stop the BJP from doing it. Capital showdown over Chhat Puja. AAP accuses BJP of blocking a Puja Ghat. BJP counters. Great attack in Srinagar leaves 11 civilians injured. Omar condemns attack. Forces conduct search operations.
Of you may have heard of a scheme called Ayushman Bharat. The users of this today number 530 million, which is roughly, you know the numbers, about a little more, about 40% of the total population.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar hails Ayushman Bharat scheme in Australia, says 533 million people benefited from the scheme, adds that it was a lifeline during COVID. All right, let's look at the facts. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah, of course, senior BJP strategist also, released party's manifesto called Sankalp Patra for Jharkhand, unveiling a focused agenda aimed at tackling the issue of illegal infiltration and preserving the state's tribal identity. Central to this plan is the introduction of a uniform civil code modeled after Uttarakhand, which the BJP claims will protect Jharkhand's tribal essence while maintaining a common code for all. Let's look at the developments of the day. Then I come back with a panel of guests on the other side for a nice conversation.
यूसीसी होगा ही होगा। हमारी सरकार झारखंड में यूसीसी लाएगी। कोई आदिवासी के अधिकार और कानून को यूसीसी से हम नहीं छेड़ेंगे।
In a strong pitch for a uniform civil code, Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Jharkhand has vowed to tackle what it calls the threat of illegal infiltration, which, he argues, has undermined the state's tribal character. According to the BJP, the UCC will bring a framework of common laws, protecting tribal heritage from external influences and ensuring a cohesive identity for Jharkhand.
हेमंत बाबू, झारखंड में यूसीसी जरूर आएगा। हमारी सरकार झारखंड में यूसीसी लाएगी, मगर यूसीसी से आदिवासियों को पूर्णतया हम बाहर रखेंगे। कोई आदिवासी के अधिकार और कानून को यूसीसी से हम नहीं छेड़ेंगे।
The JMM, a party that champions tribal rights and culture, has sharply criticized this proposal, alleging that the BJP's move is a diversion tactic and called it Jumla Patra.
ये जो मैनिफेस्टो है ना, उस पर कोई भरोसा इसलिए नहीं करेगा। 17-18 साल तक भाजपा यहाँ पर उनकी सरकार रही, उनके कई मुख्यमंत्री रहे, बाबूलाल मरांडी जी रहे, रघुवर दास जी रहे, बीच में 3 बार अर्जुन मुंडा जी रहे, डबल इंजन की सरकार रही। इसके बावजूद ना तो झारखंड का विकास इधर हुआ, ना रांची का विकास हुआ।
The BJP manifesto comes amid a larger national discourse on the Uniform Civil Code, with some alleging that it's a means to unify Hindu statements and create a counterbalance to certain community practices.
90% हिंदू थे और 9% ये जनसंख्या की मुसलमान थे, और 20 साल के बाद झारखंड का हिंदू आबादी कम होते 50% से भी नीचे हो जाएगा, और घुसपैठियों का आबादी भी लगभग इतना ही होगा।
The Saffron Party claims that the UCC will bring uniformity, closing loopholes allegedly exploited by certain groups to infringe on tribal lands and rights.
हजारों लाखों की संख्या में झारखंड की बेटियां दूसरी शादी तीसरी शादी कर एक घुसपैठिए उनके अधिकारों का हनन कर रहे हैं। एक एक घुसपैठियों को चुन चुन कर निकालने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी।
However, some particularly in the Indie bloc claim that this is yet another effort by the BJP to sway public opinion through promises of uniformity that they say might mislead the people.
गृह मंत्री क्या बोलते हैं उनको पता नहीं है। आप क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि यूसीसी में आदिवासियों को शामिल नहीं किया जाएगा? क्योंकि आपने आदिवासियों को यूसीसी में शामिल किया है। चुनाव का वक्त है, आप इस तरह की बात करके बरगलाना चाहते हैं।
While the BJP promotes the UCC as an antidote to infiltration and a protector of tribal heritage, opposition voices challenge its intent, claiming that it could threaten the very diversity it aims to protect.
All right, joining me, Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP. He's joining us live from Mumbai, from the midst of a campaign in Maharashtra. And interesting that the BJP brings UCC for Jharkhand, but not for Maharashtra. We'll discuss that. Atikur Rahman, Muslim scholar, he's also joining us live from Mumbai. We were also supposed to be joined by Ashwini Dubey, so senior advocate of the Supreme Court, but he's backed out. I would want to begin with Dheeraj Dubey. He is a spokesperson of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, which is the ruling party insofar as Jharkhand is concerned, and obviously would have some views on the manifesto announced by Amit Shah earlier in the day, which clearly focuses on preserving the tribal identity of Jharkhand. And the position is, according to the BJP, Jharkhand, which was carved out as an essentially tribal state in the year 2000, is increasingly losing its tribal identity. And we have had a party rooted in tribal identities, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, ruling it for the last 5 years. Dheeraj, how do you see the manifesto released by the BJP, particularly its pitch for taking out all the infiltrators from Jharkhand and bringing a uniform civil code?
जोहार। झारखंड में बीजेपी के द्वारा जारी किया गया मैनिफेस्टो पे कोई भी झारखंड वासी बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि सबसे ज़्यादा समय तक झारखंड में उनकी सरकार रही। 15 से 18 साल तक इन्होंने शासन किया। इस शासन काल में उन्होंने झारखंड के लोगों के साथ सिर्फ छलावा किया, बल्कि कोई भी एक कह सकते हैं परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन देने का किसी भी क्षेत्र में उन्होंने कोशिश नहीं की। यहाँ तक कि इतने दिनों के शासन के बाद वो मुद्दों को भड़काने के लिए इस तरह से यूसीसी का जो है चुनावी जुमला लेके आएंगे। इससे पहले वो बांग्लादेशी घुसपैठ का चर्चा करेंगे। जब सबसे ज़्यादा दिनों तक आपने शासन किया इस राज्य में, तो अगर कोई घुसपैठ कर जा रहा है तो कैसे कर रहा है, और अगर बांग्लादेश की सीमा आपसे नहीं संभलती है, आप केंद्र में सत्ता में हैं, 11 साल से आप सरकार चला रहे हैं, उसके बाद भी सचिन हैदर, सीमा हैदर जो है सो पाकिस्तान से इंडिया आ जाती है, कोई घुसपैठी जो है पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश से इंडिया में आ जा रहा है, तो इसमें तो जो हमारे गृह मंत्री हैं उनको इस पर इस्तीफा देना चाहिए। तो पूरे मुद्दों को भटकाने के लिए, रिलीजियस कह सकते हैं धार्मिक ध्रुवीकरण करने के लिए बीजेपी जो है अंतिम पासा अपना फेंक रही है। उनको पता है कि झारखंड में उनकी दाल नहीं करने वाली। यहाँ के आदिवासी और जो यहाँ के मूलवासी हैं, जो झारखंडी हैं, वो उनको कभी भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करने जा रहे हैं। और इसके पीछे कारण है हेमंत सोरेन जी की सरकार जो योजनाएं, जिस तरह से मैया समान योजना चला, लोगों का बिजली बिल माफ हुआ, इसके साथ साथ किसानों का केसीसी लोन माफ हुआ, किशोरी समृद्धि योजना के माध्यम से यहाँ की जो बच्चियां हैं क्लास 8वीं से लेकर स्नातक तक, उनको 40,000 का सहयोग दिया गया। तो जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट यहाँ की गवर्नमेंट यहाँ के लोगों तक पहुंचा,
धीरज,
इसका असर पूरे झारखंड में है।
Are you denying that there is no infiltration? Are you denying that there is no demographic change? Because that's the most serious pitch of the BJP in their manifesto and in fact in their entire campaign last couple of months. क्या आप मना कर रहे हैं कि ऐसा कोई इशू ही नहीं है, इन्फिल्ट्रेशन नहीं है, पॉपुलेशन का करेक्टर चेंज नहीं हो रहा है, डेमोग्राफी चेंज नहीं हो रहा है? आप कह सकते हैं ऐसा कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं हो रहा है ग्राउंड पे झारखंड में? हम वो बात बाद में करेंगे कि किस समय पे हुआ, बट हो रहा है कि नहीं?
पूरे इंडिया गठबंधन पूरे देश स्तर पर जातीय जनगणना की मांग कर रही है, तो आखिर ये पूरे देश स्तर पर जातीय जनगणना क्यों नहीं करा रहे?
नहीं, आप मुद्दे से मत भटकिए ना। मैं जो सवाल पूछ रहा हूं उसका जवाब दीजिए, मैं उस पर भी आऊंगा, जातीय जनगणना पे भी बात करेंगे। पर ये बताइए कि डेमोग्राफी, पॉपुलेशन का करेक्टर झारखंड में या झारखंड के किसी हिस्से में चेंज हो रहा है कि नहीं?
इस आधार पर जब जनसंख्या के यहाँ पे सेंसस ही नहीं हुआ, जनसंख्या की गिनती ही नहीं हुई, तो किस आधार पर ये इस तरह के आरोप लगा रहे हैं? और आरोप अगर लगा रहे हैं तो 15 साल इनकी सरकार थी, तो इन्होंने उसको रोकने का प्रयास क्यों नहीं किया? मैं भी तो ये सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं। और अगर केंद्र में 10-11 साल से आपकी सरकार है, पिछले 5 साल से यहाँ पे जेएमएम की सरकार है, इससे पहले तो आपने यहाँ शासन किया है, तो डेमोग्राफिक चेंज का जिम्मेदार कौन है? भारतीय जनता पार्टी। इधर केंद्र के लेवल पर हो चाहे स्टेट के लेवल पर हो। तो ये मुद्दों से भटकाने का सिर्फ एक तौर तरीका है। जन मुद्दे उठा के ये क्षेत्र में नहीं जाना चाहते हैं। इनके पास एक ही उपाय है, वो है धार्मिक ध्रुवीकरण, हिंदू मुस्लिम, गाय गोबर, चीन पाकिस्तान, हिंदू मुसलमान, इसके अलावा इनके पास कोई मुद्दा नहीं है।
हिंदू मुस्लिम तो मैनिफेस्टो में नहीं लिखा है। But anyway, let me take this to the BJP spokesperson present on the panel. Tuhin, you heard the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha spokesperson and the pitch, which is essentially that BJP is trying to divert and distract from its own failures, because according to him, it was BJP which was in power in Jharkhand for the longest period of time. So if demographic change has happened from 2000 onwards, it's for you to explain.
Well, good evening, Abhishek. Good evening, everybody. You know, the problem of illegal migration, illegal settling of Bangladeshis has assumed menacing proportions in Jharkhand in the last 5 years, and this has been specifically highlighted by the Jharkhand High Court in its observations in July this year, when the district magistrates of 5 districts, Pakur, Godda, Deoghar, Sahibganj, and one more district, they were specifically asked to produce an action plan on how they would combat this menace. But the state government prevented them from providing a report, because the state government is tacitly supporting this illegal migration. Now, why UCC becomes very important in this is because there is a specific trend that those illegal migrants who have been legalized by the state government are specifically indulging in polygamy with a view to target the tribal population with a specific intent to target the tribal population, and this is visible in the entire area of Santhal Parganas. Why are we so surprised by the UCC? The UCC is an ideological commitment for BJP in every state. We are following a different route. The state governments are taking the lead over here. UCC is specifically mandated by Article 44 of the Constitution, which says that the state shall endeavor to provide a UCC to all citizens. But I'm also explaining you why the tribals are being left out, because there are specific constitutional provision under 5th and 6th schedule to safeguard the interests of the tribals, and further Article 244 of the Constitution further states that the provisions of 5th and 6th schedule will be maintained at all times, and that is the reason why the tribal interests and tribal rights will be protected from the UCC.
Okay, fair enough. So you are linking tribal rights and the tribal identity with the UCC. That's why I found it interesting, and that's why we have picked it up for the debate tonight. But Tuhin, some questions to you. Why this piecemeal rollout of the UCC? Do you want a debate on UCC every 3-4 months? I mean, you have sort of brought out the model in Uttarakhand. Why not bring in a national rollout? It's interesting that from where you are speaking in Mumbai, there is an election happening. You have promised a UCC in Jharkhand, not for Maharashtra.
Abhishek ji, one size fits all solution can't apply to all issues. The UCC is a complicated issue, and here we are allowing our state governments in different states, wherever BJP is in power, to take the lead and set a module. Because whenever it comes up at the national level, the so-called ultra-secular parties will have a problem with certain provisions. You would recall that in October 18th, the central government has specifically submitted a plea to the Supreme Court asking for the ban on child marriage to be extended on all religions. And that was refused by the Honorable Supreme Court. So our commitment to ensure a common playing field for all citizens of the country, and specifically to protect the rights of women and children stands up tight.
Okay, tell me one thing. Because the Union Home Minister, while he was speaking on the manifesto, Tuhin, mentioned about a law which would prevent those marrying tribal women in Jharkhand from getting tribal identity. So you can marry a tribal woman, but you don't become a tribal. Would that apply to
the children
of all religions?
No,
it's not specific to any particular religion, right?
No. I will answer the question in two parts. Number one, the children of those tribal women who have been entrapped by illegal migrants, they will lose the right of tribal, being tribals. They will not be called tribals. The children of the married women who have been entrapped into marriage by the illegal migrants. But number two. What was the question? If you could repeat the question again.
Let me just simplify. My question is, Tuhin, that because the BJP has promised in its manifesto that they would bring legal provisions to prevent those marrying tribal women in Jharkhand from attaining tribal identities themselves, or maybe their children. That bit is not clarified. Are you going to make it religion neutral in the sense that anyone from any religion, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Jain, marrying a tribal woman does not become a tribal?
No, the reason why it is not specifically mentioned over here is that illegal migrants from Bangladesh are of one community over here. And in fact, if you go to the ground in Santhal Parganas area, you will find that in large number of villages, as per a Malafati plan, the illegal migrants who have been legalized by the Hemant Soren government has specifically targeted tribals and married, and those tribal women are basically, the mukhyas of the village, ruling the village. So, as a proxy for the illegal migrants.
Now you're getting into specifics. So it is actually targeted at the Bangladeshi illegal migrants. And because they happen to be from one particular community, obviously Muslims, and that's why this law perhaps could be targeted at them, and that's why your opponents are opposing it. Okay, before I go to Atik for a larger perspective and get him into the debate, going back to Dheeraj, the fact of the matter is that the tribal identity of Jharkhand has gotten diluted over the last 2 decades. In the year 2000, when Jharkhand was carved out, it was a state with 36-37% tribal population, which now stands at about 26% or perhaps less. So obviously, irrespective of whether BJP has been in power or you have been in power, the tribal identity is getting diluted, and you, as a party which draws its strength from your own tribal identity and your connection with the tribals, how come you are comfortable with this idea of dilution, or how come you are not in agreement with what the BJP is saying?
विनम्रता पूर्वक मैं बस ये जानना चाहता हूं कि जब ये सरकार और सत्ता में होते हैं तो ये सारे मुद्दे गौन क्यों हो जाते हैं?
नहीं, अभी तो आप सत्ता में, आप जवाब दीजिए ना, आप क्यों बार बार उधर ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं? मैं आपसे सवाल पूछ रहा हूं, 5 साल से आप हैं, आपने क्या किया?
बिल्कुल, हम उसी का
ट्राइबल आइडेंटिटी के लिए क्या किया?
हम जवाब दे रहे हैं।
5 सालों में स्थिति बिगड़ी है।
आदिवासियों की पहचान की
5 सालों में
उन्होंने, तोहिन ने आपके ऊपर, एक मिनट, तोहिन ने आपके ऊपर एक डायरेक्ट चार्ज लगाया कि संथल परगना में खासतौर से, शायद और भी हिस्सों में झारखंड में, आप ऐसा परिस्थिति अलाउ कर रहे हैं कि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन बढ़ रहा है, डेमोग्राफी चेंज हो रही है, लोग ट्राइबल महिलाओं से शादी करते हैं, ट्राइबल सरपंच पति बन जाते हैं, और उसके कारण वहां पे जमीन पे डेमोग्राफिक प्रोफाइल सारी चेंज हो रही है।
सर, मैं भी तो यही पूछना चाहता हूं कि आदिवासियों की इनकी चिंता है, तो हमने जो यहाँ पे सरना धर्म कोड पारित किया, आदिवासियों के हित के लिए ही पारित किया था, उनके आइडेंटिटी के लिए ही पारित किया था, तो
क्या पारित
क्यों
किया
नहीं
था?
केंद्र सरकार उस पर मुहर लगाई? दूसरा सवाल है कि 1932 की खतियान हम लोग चाहते थे, 1932 की खतियान लागू होता तो आदिवासियों को बेनिफिट मिलती, उनको उनका पहचान मिलता, उनको यहाँ में रोजगार में उनको प्राथमिकता मिलती, उसको इन्होंने क्यों रोक के रखा? और मैं पूछना चाहता हूं कि ये जो 37% और 38% यहाँ की आदिवासियों की आबादी बताई जा रही है ट्राइबल की, हम तो बोलते हैं कि आप जातीय जनगणना करा दीजिए, तो आखिर क्यों भारतीय जनता पार्टी जातीय जनगणना के लिए तैयार नहीं हो रही है? ये भ्रम फैलाने का बात सर,
भ्रम नहीं है, भ्रम नहीं है, आंकड़े देता हूं मैं। धीरज, मैं तोहिन से पूछूंगा और मैं अतीक को भी लाऊंगा, पर सुनिए, लिसन टू मी,
समय बर्बाद नहीं करना।
ठीक है, सुनिए, मैं, क्योंकि आपने कहा ये भ्रम फैलाने की बात हो रही है, मैं कुछ आंकड़े देता हूं। दीज आर सेंसस ऑफ इंडिया फिगर्स, आप ध्यान से सुनिए। झारखंड,
मेरा आंसर जवाब दिया जाए, मेरा जवाब जो है भाजपा के प्रवक्ता से पूछे कि सरना धर्म कोड ये लोग क्यों पारित नहीं करा रहे हैं।
मैं पूछूंगा उनसे, पर पहले एक आंकड़े दे दूं आपको। 1951 the Muslim population of Jharkhand was little over 8%, which in 2011 stood at 14.5%. 8 से 14.5% हो गई। But संथल परगना, क्योंकि संथल परगना is the focus, in Santhal Pargana, the Muslim population, which was at around 9.5% in 1951, stands at about 24% now. As per 2011 census, it was 22.73%. संथल परगना में मुस्लिम आबादी जो आज़ादी के तुरंत बाद 9% थी, अभी 24% है, जबकि झारखंड की मुस्लिम आबादी 8 से बढ़कर 14% हुई है। तो ऑब्वियसली संथल परगना में कुछ तो हो रहा है ना, जो डबल से ज्यादा का फर्क दिख रहा है।
हिंदू की आबादी 1951 में पूरे देश में कितनी थी?
अरे आंकड़े के परसेंटेज में जाइए ना, प्रोपोर्शन, रेशियो प्रोपोर्शन की बात कर रहा हूं, मैथ से
पूछना चाहता हूं, कितनी थी पूरे इंडिया में, आज कितनी है?
हिंदू भी कम हुई है ना, वो तो बीजेपी की डिबेट ही है, उसमें मत पड़िए, आप फंस जाएंगे। पर आप झारखंड का जवाब दीजिए। झारखंड में संथल परगना की बात हो रही है।
इंडिया में कितना था?
अरे भाई फंस जाओगे आप, वो बीजेपी की डिबेट है। डोंट गो इनटू देयर टेरिटरी, दे ऑलवेज मेंटेन दैट द इंडियन।
मैं फंसने के लिए बैठा हूं। 1951 में व्हाट वाज द रेशियो ऑफ हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम इन इंडिया? टेल मी।
मैं आपको बताता हूं। क्या पूछ रहे हैं आप?
1951 में हिंदू और मुस्लिम का रेशियो कितना था भारत?
1951 में
तो मेरी हमारी बात
नहीं, ही इज गेटिंग इनटू अ ट्रैप, बट लेट मी जस्ट हेल्प हिम। 1951 से और अब
I am taking you in trap.
नहीं, you are not taking me in trap, Mr. Dheeraj Dubey. I am just facilitating some figures so that
धर्म कोड क्यों पारित नहीं हो रहा है? जवाब है
धीरज, दिस इज व्हाट अबाउट ट्रिप, क्योंकि आप फंस गए हैं। आप फंस गए हैं क्योंकि आपके पास जवाब नहीं है। संथल परगना का डेमोग्राफी चेंज हो गया है, क्योंकि आप उसमें से निकलना चाह रहे हैं, इसीलिए उसमें आबादी कितनी थी, इसमें आबादी कितनी थी। झारखंड की बात करिए ना।
देखिए,
झारखंड नहीं, हम तो देश का पूछ रहे हैं। देश झारखंड से बड़ा है कि छोटा है, हमको ये बता दो पहले आप।
अरे झारखंड डिस्कशन हो रहा है, जनरल इलेक्शन नहीं हो रहा है, आप झारखंड की बात
क्यों मैं इंडिया लेवल की क्यों नहीं बात कर सकता?
अक्रॉस इंडिया ऑल्सो द हिंदू पॉपुलेशन has come down by about 8 percentage points. Now come to Jharkhand. Talk about Jharkhand.
सरना धर्म कोड क्यों भारतीय जनता पार्टी पारित नहीं कर रही?
चलिए, आपके पास जवाब नहीं है। तोहिन आपके पास जवाब नहीं है। तोहिन
देखिए, ये बार बार ये नहीं बार बार ये सरना धर्म की बात कर रहे हैं। सरना धर्म पर सर्वसम्मति नहीं है। जिस दिन वो सर्वसम्मति आ जाएगी आदिवासी समाज में, हम उसका समर्थन करेंगे। लेकिन ये देखिए, मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, आप ध्यान से सुनिए, अब आप ध्यान से सुनिए, बहुत देर से बोलते जा रहे हैं। आप ध्यान से सुनिए मेरी बात को। अभिषेक जी, आपको पता होगा कि हेमंत सोरेन हमेशा से अब आप सुनेंगे, आप जवाब पूछ रहे हैं, जब मैं जवाब दे रहा हूं आपको, आप बीच में बकना शुरू कर रहे हैं। देखिए अभिषेक जी, आपको पता होगा हेमंत सोरेन एक एजेंडा के तहत काम कर रहे हैं। आज से 3 साल पहले उन्होंने अचानक एक बहुत ही शरारतपूर्ण बयान दिया था कि आदिवासी कभी हिंदू धर्म के, सनातन धर्म के ना तो हिस्सा थे और ना हिस्सा रहेंगे।
धीरज नॉट अलाउड। आपको किसी ने डिस्टर्ब नहीं किया, आप मत करिए।
तर्क संगत तरीके से इसका खंडन मैंने ही नहीं किया, बहुत सारे आदिवासी विद्वानों ने किया था। तो हेमंत सोरेन की खुद की विश्वसनीयता, एक आदिवासी नेता के रूप में उनकी खुद की विश्वसनीयता शून्य है। हमने कभी विरोध नहीं किया सरना धर्म का, लेकिन खुद सर्वसम्मति नहीं है आदिवासी समाज के अंदर, उस दिन हम उसको सपोर्ट करेंगे। ये क्या?
Okay, fair enough. Let me get in Atikur Rahman now. Dheeraj, hold on. I'll come to you. You got your chance. Atikur Rahman ji, now you join the debate. My question is, Atikur Rahman, in the light of BJP's promise in Jharkhand for a uniform civil code, as an antidote to infiltration, and this marriage law that they are bringing, which is going to prevent those marrying tribal women getting tribal identities, why should you oppose it? I mean, we have had this conversation a lot of times earlier also, Atikur Rahman, but essentially, we can actually avoid this quarterly debate on uniform civil code once there is a bare minimum agreement that, okay, fine, these provisions of a common code can be brought in. Can you agree, Atikur Rahman, for that much?
Abhishek, this UCC debate is becoming too interesting, and look at the change. So far, we were expecting a UCC on the guidelines of the Supreme Court and the other courts in India, that the gender justice and gender equality laws are not equal in India, and various religious, leaders, they are usurping the identities of the women, and that's why we need a UCC now. Since the BJP is thinking that they are losing their power on the hilly areas and the hilly regions, so now they are talking of moving out the tribal from this UCC in the name of marriage and infiltration and this and that. So my question will be to him that if the tribal identity is so important to you that you can make tribals out of the UCC, why not people who are demanding to preserve their religious identity be granted it? Of course, if the tribals are also usurping the women's power, you will get hold of them. I am all in favor of a UCC for gender justice and gender equality. If my community people say that we will not allow the women's equality and women should not get this power and that power, I will damn them. Will the BJP also damn those tribals who want to usurp the powers of the tribal women? In the name of tribal identity, you are giving laxity to them. You are not serious about it. And now Jasmine Twain is accepting that we are having a piecemeal reform as far as UCC is concerned. Since 30 years, Abhishek, they are having this UCC on their manifesto. So far, as you asked, there is not a national draft policy on UCC.
Okay, Tuhin, just rephrasing what Atikur Rahman is saying for you. Essentially, what he's saying is that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, or should be good for the goose. Whatever is good for the goose should be good for the gander. And if you are so touchy about tribal identity, why not in the case of Atikur Rahman, apply to Muslims also, in which case the Uniform Civil Code actually falls flat.
I explained it to him that there are express constitutional provisions to safeguard the interest of tribals. He should read the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule, which provide for administration of tribal districts. And the 5th schedule provides it for 10 states. The 6th schedule provides it for Assam and 2 other states. And Article 244 again specifically provides that the 5th and 6th schedule provisions will be upheld in all circumstances. The same constitutional provision does not extend to any other segment of our population. That is the core difference over here, which he is not able to understand.
May I counter this?
Yes, Atikur Rahman.
So you want to say that we should believe the BJP who want to usurp the powers of the minority? The minorities too, Mr. Tuhin, has a right to preserve their own culture, their language, their tradition, their...
You know...
Are you going to usurp this? No, this is your criminal agenda. Abhishek, he is
Atikur ji, Atikur bhai, you know, this will, you are veering, this will lead to, you know, this will lead to a different debate altogether. What percentage is a minority? You know, a minority which is consistently growing, tomorrow the same minority may reach 30-35% and still you will play the victim and call yourself minority.
Atikur Rahman, let me build on this. Atikur Rahman, let me build on this argument and put it to Atikur Rahman. He would be free to answer. Atikur Rahman ji, ek baat samajhiye. When I began my conversation, I said that while the Muslim community perpetually pushes this idea of they being under some kind of threat, you know, it's not that under Modi Shah Muslims are under threat or have started believing that they are under threat. They did so during the time of Vajpayee Advani. They did so during the time of 1986, Rajiv Gandhi. They did so during the time of 1955, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Hindu Code Bills. They did so in 1947 when Nehru Gandhi both were there. And they did so in 1920. They did so in 1905. I mean, it can be unending. This perception of threat. But Atikur Rahman, during all this period of threat, the fact of the matter is that the Muslim population has had a healthy rate of growth and which has been more than the national average, more than the majority community of the country. And just as you have a threat perception, there is a majority community's threat perception that there are pockets growing which are absolutely outside the national framework. I will give you an example. Murshidabad, Atikur Rahman, when the first census happened in 1951. The Muslim population was 55%. Today, it stands at about 70%. And from 1952 onwards, not a single election, any other person but Muslim community members have been elected from the constituency. So obviously, when you talk about a Muslim constituency, you say, oh, why, what's wrong if a Muslim is getting elected from a Muslim constituency? And other places, you would talk about things like, you know, proportional representation, greater say, this, that. So, I mean, this using constitutional provisions to push a certain idea of a threat which does not exist, you know, makes the conversation difficult, Atikur Rahman, and that is why perhaps this idea of a uniform civil code, so that we don't have 1955, 1986, you know, and whatever has happened, for example, in the case of the triple talaq law, etc. The debate can end if this uniform civil code comes in, or some understanding of a common code for which the communities can sit and discuss.
Abhishek, I understand that the BJP wants to describe the Muslims with a very new denomination, saying that the Muslims are not a minority, but the second largest majority. I have no qualms with the BJP. In parliament, they have a majority. They should amend the Constitution of India and redefine what is a minority in India. I have no qualms if they declare themselves that Hindus are in minority in Jammu and Kashmir or Hindus are in minority in Murshidabad. As you said, the population of Muslims are increasing in Murshidabad. Now, UCC, the primary article UCC, why is not there a national draft policy? Why is BJP going back to its own manifesto and now having a piecemeal measure? Maybe, you know, tomorrow if they are losing elections somewhere, even in Maharashtra, maybe they will be coming, any of their leaders will be coming that, okay, the Muslims are out of the UCC. We are crossing our fingers and waiting for that day. Because they need the votes of the people. They are not serious with gender justice and gender equality, Abhishek.
Okay, Tuhin, you get to respond. One question I'm adding is that if infiltration is the issue, how can the Jharkhand government be held responsible? I mean, if infiltration is happening from Bangladesh, you have a national government taking care of it, if at all Bengal government, Assam government. But how come Jharkhand government becomes responsible for infiltration at least?
No, Abhishek ji, you are right. It is not just about the Jharkhand government. All Indian state governments should be held responsible. In fact, the present illegal migration happens because of a small leakage of 150 kilometers or so on the Bangladesh border. The 150 kilometer odd land has not been provided from the state government of Bengal to the center despite multiple reminders, and therefore the BSF cannot patrol these areas. That is the leakage point because of which illegal migration continues to thrive. And at least on the issue of illegal migration and demography distortion, all Indie partners are thinking alike. You had a Mehboob Ali, the Samajwadi Party MLA, proudly say that आप 2027 में देखिए हमारी आबादी इतनी बढ़ जाएगी कि आप लोग क्या करेंगे, आप लोग सत्ता में कैसे आएंगे. You have somebody in Firad Hakim, a minister in TMC, who has proudly described a part of Kolkata as mini Pakistan to a Pakistani journalist. So yes, it is not just about Hemant Soren. All Indie alliance parties are complicit in this demography distortion, and this is what the BJP is protecting. We are committed to ensuring a foolproof border across Bangladesh, but for that the 150 kilometer is the only hindrance. We are equally providing a foolproof border even in Myanmar, across Myanmar for that matter.
Okay, understood. But Atikur Rahman, extending this conversation, if you are saying that Waqf law, which is being brought in by the present government, is against the community's interests, how come you oppose something like a Sanatan board, the demand for which has gained a lot of strength over the last 1 month alone? And the reason is that we have seen stories, reports from across the country, from a Christian village in Kerala to a Hindu village in Tamil Nadu, and Atikur Rahman, both those villages having existence, pattas, records going back to the days before the advent of Islam, and they being claimed by Waqf boards. So, I mean, if, again, as the argument that I pushed to him, that what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, if Waqf is right, so should be Sanatan board.
Yes, Abhishek, this I had mentioned to your editor-in-chief, Arnab ji, and I assured him that I do not have any objection to a Sanatan board. The government is in power, they can amend or they can change the name of the Endowments Act, the various temple endowments and Hindu endowment acts are there. That can be changed to Hindu Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan board. I do not have any objection regarding this. There should be parity. But the primary question as far as the amendment of the Waqf bill is concerned, that there is a clause in it, and perhaps I have asked so many BJP leaders, and so he is a very, very good equally, he can answer this question. There is a point in the amendment bill which is presented that within 3 months, if the Muslims are unable to prove that this land belongs to the Waqf, there cannot be, that particular aspect cannot be challenged in any court, cannot be questioned. Under any circumstances, there won't be any hearing, and the land will be ultimately belonging to the government. Is this not usurping the land of the Muslims? Is this not undemocratic to him?
Okay, we will have that Waqf conversation sometime, but Tuhin, my last question to you. Since you have brought in a uniform civil code law in Uttarakhand, now you are getting it in Jharkhand. There are some committees of the BJP, some BJP government committees in the states. Why are you going to promise that in Maharashtra also? Your manifesto for Maharashtra is yet to be out.
Well, you know, every state has different issues, so I'm not sure Maharashtra manifesto is not out. But yes, it is an ideological commitment to us. People keep asking us, Tariq kab bataoge, kab kaise karoge? But we have shown to the world, whether it was Article 370 or construction of Ram Temple, you know, or bringing the CAA, we believe that ideological commitments are supposed to be fulfilled. We are not like the Congress party, who believe in making fake promises which are never fulfilled. So all our ideological commitments will be fulfilled in due course of time, but the route may be different. In this particular case, in UCC, the state governments are taking a lead because we realize it is a complex issue. And if the state governments can set a module, maybe at the national level, it may be easier to build a consensus.
Fair enough. We'll keep a close watch of that promise. Tohin, on that note, thank you so much, Atikur Rahman and Tohin Sinha, for joining us in this conversation. Evergreen debate this on uniform civil code till the time perhaps we have a national rollout.